Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast, where I hope you become the leader your team deserves. Today, we'll be talking about timing. Because timing is important. Did you just note that little break I had there, the pause? That's all about timing and delivery. Before we get to that, I just want to let you know that I've published a new live session that you can join me, and it's the first of an upcoming series about 10xing your engineering team. This one is about introducing healthy friction to make your team even better. Check out the details in the link in the show notes. Again, it's free, and even if you cannot attend live, you can get a recording later. But as an experiment, I'm also holding two live sessions the same day, one for Europeans and one for North America time zones. So check it out. Waiting to see you there. Now, let's talk about real timing. Often when I talk to executives about their plans, about issues, about things they're planning or handling, I notice that there's an aspect of timing that they're not giving enough attention to. We tend to assume that everything is equal. We can do the X work right now and it would take 2 weeks, or we can delay it and have those 2 weeks later. However, our world is so soft, and therefore no unit of time is the same as the other one. Whatever you decide to do right now usually is not just the same doing it in 2 weeks. And you need to understand that sometimes wielding timing correctly can make things so much easier for you. And I'm going to start with giving you a few simple examples to grasp it, and then I want us to consider what should timing look like for you. Now, for example 1, in my first book, The Tech Executive Operating System, I talk about what you should be doing in your first 100 days in a new role as a tech executive. And one thing I mentioned there is that you, in those first 100 days, enjoy a specific type of timing opportunity that I call a window of malleability. It is a window during which the organization sort of expects change. They know that there's a new boss in town, and you usually want to change things to match your expectations, to match what you want to do. And because people are already open to it, there's already the change that's happening because there's a new boss, making some changes will be easier as opposed to waiting out a quarter or two and doing it then. And you might as well just go along with the change earlier because people will just nod along, as opposed to 6 months later when they'll need a lot more explaining and pushing on your side to make it happen. In general, you have these windows of malleability and you need to leverage them. Whenever someone leaves, whenever there's a big company pivot, whenever you're changing your goals, whenever a quarter starts, whatever it is, you have those opportunities that make certain changes better, that if you understand it in advance and grasp it, your timing is going to help you deliver things easily. Second, there is also understanding what timing actually means, because not every week is the same. Right now, I'm recording this in July, and I know that many of my European listeners, for example, July and August are not just any other month. So many people are off work, and therefore, this would not be a month I would try and push a big change. However, this might be an amazing month to start your intermissions, which I also write about in my first book, because these innovation weeks are sometimes harder to sell to the executive leadership. However, if we already have this lull because half of the team is on vacation anyway, you might as well do something interesting and worthwhile in this experiment when the timing makes it easier because the cost is lower. For example, so timing has all of these aspects of understanding how different things look like. And I want you to consider right now, what are the things that you can leverage if you time them correctly? So, for example, a few days ago, I was talking to an executive who told me that the headquarters of he's part of a huge public company. The headquarters will decide on his business unit's budget by X month. And I'm like, okay, that means that you're going to have to show them some real plans and results within the next month or so if you want to make sure that by the time they decide on the budget, you're going to get it. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to be doing the next month? And turns out he knew this. He gave me all the detail, right? I didn't know how the organization works. He knew this, and still in his mind, the timing didn't matter all that much because the budget was only for 2025. He was thinking we'll do that work closer to 2025. I'm like, no, this is the window where you can get so much more leverage if you have the right things. So if you want to make your work much easier 6 months later, this month actually matters even more. This is all about timing. Another example would be people not realizing that if you're working, for example, with Apple SDKs, if you have an iOS app, this right now is the season where so many changes are happening because WWDC was just on. We have the new betas, and we know that the new phones and the new software will be out in September-ish. Therefore, right now is when you probably will get more benefit from prioritizing work on those new capabilities and features, because then you might get featured by Apple, or people looking for all the new capabilities being utilized will prefer your app as opposed to others. This is a window where if you are there ready, you can enjoy a nice little boost in your marketing. Therefore, this period is better equipped for those sorts of work. So think about what timing means when you're looking at your organization. Are there any specific events that occur regularly in your market? Are you the sort of company that's affected by the holiday season, for example, and you better be ready for it ahead in advance, or plan on doing some infrastructure work during it because you have a lull? Are you currently seeing that people will be in the need of some sort of transition plan by the end of the year, and therefore if you start working on it right now, you're going to be ready? Can you see that if things go correctly, given the current trajectory, you will have scaling issues in this and that, and therefore maybe you should start working on hiring the right people or creating the right projects so that when that moment reaches you, let's say within the next year, you're going to be better equipped and ready for it. Whatever it is, timing is everything. So I want you to consider, how are you wielding it as opposed to just going along with however things seem to happen. Take the initiative. You're a leader, you're an executive. It is up to you. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. As always, do check out the show notes for my article and offerings such as my live stream package that's still going on. Okay, timing is everything. You should have joined it a month ago, but you can still and get a lot out of it. That's it. Thank you. See you here next week.